Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I talk and discuss about many of the issues, true crime stories, and things that are taking place throughout our country and our world. To be your eyes and your ears, and to raise your level of consciousness to things of the things that are going on around you. I know we have busy lives, raising our children, grandchildren, going to work, and doing the things that are necessary for us to navigate our way through this wonderful world. And for those who have been continuously supporting, I want to tell you I appreciate you. And I do have a Cash App where if you want to make a donation to continue to support my channel, I appreciate it. And the Cash App is $ Trevor Donald 20. That's $ Trevor Donald 20. And I appreciate and thank you for all your support. Well, there's been a lot going on in St. Louis, Missouri here recently, and this one is another one coming straight out of St. Louis. We've had some issues that have taken place at a couple of our North County suburban high schools. One junior high kid got stabbed to death on Tuesday, and then last Friday, two 15-year-old young ladies got into a fight, and one ended up in a coma here in St. Louis and is in critical care. And the perpetrator is being charged as an adult, two 15-year-old girls. Well, now we got a pediatrician, a physician. Even though we have these high-powered degrees in life, whether lawyer, judges, teachers, principals, police chiefs, firemen, football players, basketball players, we're still just people and we make mistakes. And I got one straight here from you from St. Louis, where in St. Louis County, St. Louis pediatrician accused of prescribing women opioids in exchange for money and sex acts. Let's go. Dr. Craig Arden Spiegel, MD. A St. Louis area pediatrician is facing dozens of federal charges after prosecutors alleged he prescribed women opioids for money in exchange for money or sex acts for nearly a decade. So St. Louis area pediatrician is facing dozens of federal charges after prosecutors alleged he prescribed women opioids in exchange for money or sex acts for almost 10 years. Dr. Craig A. Spiegel, 67, was charged by federal prosecutors with 24 counts, including 17 counts of illegal distribution of a controlled substance in connection with the scheme that investigators believe started as early as 2014. Investigators also believe a woman, 46-year-old April Bingham, got involved in the operation in 2021, resulting in her and Spiegel being charged with conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. It goes on to say, according to the indictment, Spiegel prescribed the medication without any legitimate medical reason and ignored substance abuse red flags in the victims to whom he prescribed the medication. The indictment said one of the victims he prescribed medication to died as a result of an overdose on April 4th, 2022. It read, he continued to engage in his criminal course of distribution even after learning that the patient died of an overdose. Man, what a callous human being. And he's went into a profession of healing, and he's causing all of this physical and emotional destruction of humans. Investigators said Spiegel knew many of the women because he was their treating pediatrician when they were children. He would prescribe them drugs like Adderall, Percocet, and Xanax in exchange for sexually explicit photographs or sex acts. So he did this when they were adults. He knew it. He was their doctor when they were kids, But I guess over the years, normally you have a pediatrician until you're 18, and then you age out and get a family practitioner or internal medicine doctor. But they must have kept in touch with them. And of course, some of these kids, if they were taking Adderall, you're talking about ADHD. They probably were seeing a child psychiatrist and a pediatrician for many years. He developed a doctor patient relationship, then a casual relationship, and then a comfortable relationship. And as you all know, part of the reason I'm doing this particular segment is that the opioid crisis, mental illness, and the opioid crisis are two of the major pillars that are destroying our uh, moral and ethical fabric in America. And so he had a relationship with them, prescribing them Adderall, Percocet, Xanax, uh, pain relief medication, anxiety relief medication. And then some of these patients kept in touch with him after that. The indictment alleges he would pressure reluctant victims into sending him the photographs or agreeing to engage in sex acts at his office in Bridgeton or in the women's homes. The indictment read, based on the 25 women alone, 25 women, the United States is aware of thousands of text messages to or from Spiegel, more than 12,000 individual prescriptions for controlled substances that should have not been issued, and more than 73,000 controlled substance pills were illegally distributed. More than 1,200 individual prescriptions for controlled substances and more than 73,000 controlled substance pills were illegally distributed by this Dr. Spiegel. He was a dangerous individual. The power of the pen, or you say the power of the pen for lawyers, prosecutors, and judges to extrapolate you from your freedom. You also have the power of the pen from physicians that could end up making you addicted to opioids and can even contribute to you overdosing and even going from prescription drugs to street drugs at some point. That's part of the opioid crisis that has taken place, where physicians have overly prescribed opioids and painkillers for years. And they think that this is what has led to this, one of the reasons that have led to this opioid crisis. And you got to look up the Sackler family. It was a family of physicians who started the whole Oxycontin movement, and which led to part of this opioid crisis that we have today. They made billions. The Sackler name is all over museums and buildings all throughout New York City. You should look up the story on the Sacklers, and I will be doing a video on the Sackler family. But getting back to this indictment, so as I said, the indictment read, based on 25 women alone, the United States is aware of thousands of text messages to or from Spiegel, more than 1,200 individuals' prescriptions for controlled substances that should not have been issued, and more than 73,000 controlled substance pills were illegally distributed. It said his danger wasn't limited to prescribing practices. One example given was a minor complaining to state authorities that Spiegel was inappropriate with her during a medical exam. According to the indictment, it said he preyed on vulnerable women in a sexual, sometimes forcible manner. Investigators say in 2021, Bingham started working with Spiegel. The indictment alleged that Bingham exchanged sexual favors for the prescriptions and sold the drugs. The indictment alleges Spiegel knew Bingham was selling the drugs, but agreed to fill out other prescriptions for Miss Bingham using the identities of her ex-husband, mother, and friends to avoid suspicion about the frequency of the refills and to take advantage of those people's prescription insurance benefits. So Miss Bingham, who was an old patient of his, who aged out of being a pediatric patient, becomes an adult, has this relationship with Dr. Spiegel, and she is getting him to write various prescriptions. in other people's names. They're filling them out. She's selling them, and she's part of this whole conspiracy for illegal distribution of controlled substances and prescription drugs. Investigators also said Bingham brought others to Spiegel, and they would exchange cash or sexual favors for prescriptions. In all, Spiegel is facing 17 counts of illegal distribution of controlled substances, 6 counts of making false statements related to healthcare matters, and 1 count of conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. Bingham is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. Dr. Spiegel was arrested on March 6th, and there is a motion to have him in jail until trial. The charges of conspiracy and illegal distribution of controlled substances are each punishable by up to 20 years in prison and a $1 million fine, or both prison and a fine. Each charge of making false statements is punishable by 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, or both. Dr. Spiegel's office is located at SSM Health DePaul Hospital, St. Louis in Bridgeton, St. Louis County. 5 on Your Side reached out to SSM Health but hadn't heard back as of Thursday afternoon. A photo of Spiegel was on Washington University School of Medicine's website, but it was taken down. A Washington University spokesperson said the physician is not and has never been an employee of Washington University or the School of Medicine. He has been a voluntary faculty member, which is a common affiliation for community physicians. Wow. So this individual, Dr. Spiegel, pediatrician, has gotten himself involved in quite a bit of a mess. And it just makes you wonder in today's time with these guys. I mean, to become a physician, a pediatrician, you're talking about going to school from 0 to 28. You're giving up almost 1/3 of your life to be trained and educated, to be an expert at taking care of people. And you have to remember, when you're a physician, you're putting people's lives in your hand. Law school, you're talking, if you go straight through, 0 to 26, and 3 years of law school. Where in medical school, you're talking 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, and then 4 years of your residency. In law school, you're talking 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, and passing the bar. And for those guys and gals to make that kind of sacrifice, and in both scenarios, they're both putting you're putting your life in their hands. One has to do with your physical, emotional, psychological, biochemical freedom, and in the legal profession, it deals with your physical and emotional legal freedom. The judge and prosecuting attorneys have the power to put you away for life in prison, where you have restrictions, definitely physically, mentally, and spiritually. And a physician, whether they're a surgeon, pediatrician, family practitioner, psychiatrist, you're putting your life in their hands in a multitude of dynamics. And so these are very high pressure, very demanding, and very well-respected professions. And for this guy to get to the point of 67 years old, after dedicating his life to becoming a healer, he turned out to be a person that was filled with destruction and criminality. And it makes me wonder, he's 67, so he's been a physician over 30 years. The question is that when I look at these stories, was he always this way, or did something happen in today's society where people there's so much going on with our kids today. Schools are so dangerous. There's so many guns on the street. Everybody hates the police. They want to defund the police. Everybody hates and disrespects teachers and administrators. There's so much hatred and demonic energy that's being spewed out here in the world. And you're seeing people of high quality, very high professions that are turning into monsters and doing negative criminal activity, such as this physician. I'm not saying he's the first one that's ever done it. And you're seeing I've done videos on lawyers and judges. One lawyer in Ohio stabbed his ex-wife 47 times and killed her in front of his kids when they were divorced. Another lawyer in Michigan, she had a disabled son and she starved him to death, and she recently got sentenced. You had a judge in Oklahoma, a young female judge, who was sitting on a murder trial as the standing judge, and she was texting the bailiff over 500 times talking about the witnesses, the prosecutors, who was lying, who was not lying. It got caught on tape, and they dismissed her. They were going to charge her, and then she ended up removing herself from a murder case of a 2-year-old boy. So I don't know if people are the stresses of life, all the things that are going on, that and technological advances. Everybody wants to chase the bag by any means necessary and get it as quickly as possible. And the traditional values and ways of going to living and earning a good life takes too long. That people are just popping and are turning into monsters and creating such all of this negative energy. Because it makes no sense on why this pediatrician who's 67 years old, basically at retirement age, why is he out here writing illegal prescriptions? First of all, he's a pediatrician. How is he getting these prescriptions off and he's writing them to adults? Bingham is 46 years old. This should have been a red flag at Walgreens and the pharmacies. Why is a pediatrician writing prescriptions to a 46-year-old and to her ex-husband and her mother? You always are supposed to put the age, birth date, and address on the prescriptions. And even when they are going through their insurance, there should have been a number of key checkoff lists to where this pediatrician should not have been able to get off 1,200 individual prescriptions and over 73,000 controlled substance pills written and allowed to be distributed out into the public. This is part of the crisis that we're going through. It's not just street drugs, heroin, fentanyl, crack. We have a lot of people that have started out on these high-powered pharmaceutical drugs, and either when their insurance runs out, they end up going to street drugs, or many of these pharmaceutical drugs are precursors to people ending up doing other heinous drugs, especially from the streets. People always talk about marijuana being a precursor or a gatekeeper or a gateway drug into more serious street drugs. We need to have a whole lot of conversations about prescription drugs written by physicians and created by pharmaceutical companies that are far stronger and have way more addictive qualities, that are gateway drugs into people eventually using street drugs. These pharmaceutical drugs and these chemicals that are made by these biochemists, physiologists, and chemists have ingredients in them that are extremely addictive. As I said, you need to look at the Sackler family with Oxycontin, oxycodone, hydrocodone. So just because a doctor or a physician writes a prescription and you take it to Walgreens and you think it has more of a classy value to it, it can be just as debilitating and addictive as many of our street drugs today. Remember, fentanyl or fentanyl was originally prescribed as a sedative and pain remedy in the medical community before it got dissipated all throughout our major cities across America. So yeah, tell me what you think. This is Dr. Craig Spiegel out of St. Louis County's Bridgeton DePaul Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, in one of our suburbs. who was involved in all kinds of things. St. Louis area pediatrician is facing dozens of federal charges after prosecutors allege he prescribed women opioids in exchange for money or sex acts for almost 10 years. And here again, just because you have a title or a few letters behind your name or a few zeros in your bank account does not mean that you are above the fray of committing a crime. And we need to make sure that people are living in a harmonious society where we're trying to help, we're trying to uplift our humanity and not debilitate it or denigrate it or destroy it. And unfortunately, this man lived a very hypocritical life when he took the Hippocratic oath to be a healer, and it turns out something either snapped or something is going wrong with him, that he went from being a healer to a person of destruction and he went from healing individuals to trying to destroy them, both physically, emotionally, and all for a financial gain, which we're seeing a lot of these days. This is no different than a stockbroker in Wall Street that stole billions or millions of dollars from individuals. This pediatrician is stealing these individuals' humanity, their physiology, their mental chaos, all for $1 and for sex. And I don't think that's what most physicians are going into the profession for. They're going to be healers and not hurters. That's what I meant to say earlier. Instead, he had a dichotomy. Instead of healing, he was hurting. So he's somebody that needs to be off the street, needs to be arrested and convicted. Tell me what you think about this pediatrician accused of prescribing women opioids in exchange for money and sex acts. This is Dr. Craig Spiegel, 67 years old, who just got caught by the feds. Tell me what you think. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.